Yeah, we're really trapped in the matrix here. It's very hard to break out.
Well, yes and no, because I teach some urban survival courses here in Toronto, and
Oh,
based on my
cool.
book. And because I'm a little bit of a prepper. I mean, I've been doing this, since I was 13. I was lucky enough to be a part of like an Outward Bound program.
Urban survival. Buy a cabin far away.
No, but here's the thing, though, guys, is that everybody thinks, oh, okay, we got to run out to the country. If something happens, we're all just going to move to a small town. But I've got to tell you, that's not bloody likely to happen because there's a number of things. First of all, when are you going to go to a small town? Now? Okay, are you rich? Because there is no work in any small town. And also, there's very few opportunities to buy like a cheap place. You're going to have to buy a farm or a townhouse in the country. You got the money for that? Are you going to commute 4 hours to work every morning? So that's not likely. And another thing about small towns is, and I've lived in small towns, and if you haven't lived in that small town for 4 generations, you are an outsider, and you will always be an outsider. So do you think that when the shit hits the fan, everybody in Toronto is going to go up to Barrie and do what? Go
Yeah,
to
exactly.
a farmer's field? You think these people are going to say, hey, come on in, we love Torontonians, we love you big Here's, just leave our daughters alone, but you can sleep in the barn. I mean, it's not going to happen. So where the hell is everybody going to go to?
Oh no, you're 100% right. You're totally right. I mean, it's naive to think that we could just run off and somehow make it in the country. You have to be there somehow. You have to already have, as you said, generations perhaps.
Exactly. If you're not already well established there, let's say you've got a lot of money, and last year you bought a farmhouse there and all that, and you got it stocked, and you can be self-sufficient. Okay, great. All the power to you. Hopefully, the local townspeople won't resent you when shit hits the fan and say, "Look, that guy's only been here a couple of years. Let's get rid of him and take his stuff."
Yes.
Because think about what happens. Look what's happening now in Argentina and in Bosnia and places like that, where the gangs run the cities, and there's snipers and things like that. You think everybody's going to get along real fine and say, "Oh yeah, these rich guys from this city are up there and they got a whole bunch of food and stuff, but let's just leave them alone." It's not going to happen. And I think it's part of the programming that everybody thinks that, when the end of the world comes, we just put on our bug-out bag and we're going to go live in Algonquin Park. As somebody who spent a lot of times in the woods, I love nature. I live for nature. You cannot live there. Nature is a cruel bitch. She really is. I love her, but if you had to survive out there in the woods, I mean, 98% of the people wouldn't last 3 months.
Oh yeah. Have you seen the show that was I think it was on Discovery Canada, which is called Survivor Man?
Yeah. Stress loud.
Yeah. Less stress loud. Yes, exactly.
I was going to do a parody of his video called Stress Loud.
But like he did a couple in Canada. I remember one he did. I think it was either Quebec or Ontario, and it was like in October or
Yeah, way up north.
Yeah, and he was like practically starving. I mean, he was eating like snails and stuff, like insects, whatever he could find, basically. Yeah. And he was saying, like, it's so hard to live at this time of the year in this, there's no...
that guy didn't hunt either, right? He was like some fucking animal.
He tried, but
he was...
He's way better equipped and knowledge than the average guy that would go out there. So I totally agree with Stefan. I mean, you'd be totally naive to think, you have to have years of training. You'd have to be like Dick Pronicki. You'd have to know how to hunt and build and, all the different things, collect water. I mean, there's just so many things to know how to survive in a
Even
situation.
Dick Pronicki had the plane come in every few months to drop off stuff.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So, this idea that, we're all going to take wilderness survival courses.
No, we're all going to end up in a bread line.
We'll end up in the bread line.
They love that. They love that. But it'll be a glucose-fructose line, and you'll go in and get your hose, and you'll get your fucking serving of Coca-Cola and crap. And that'll be it, right? McDonald's hamburger or something. That'll be your supper, right?
Yeah.
That's their world. That's the beautiful world for them, right?
Well, they have positive then, because this whole running out to the country or to the wilderness. I mean, I wish I had the money to do it. I would do it if I had the money. I would do it and take my chances out there. But let's not talk about the impossible. I wish I could grow wings and fly. That's not going to happen either. So we're stuck in the city. But
if you drink Red Bull. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
But there's a lot of positive things. I think the city is actually a safer place because, first of all, there's a lot more resources. If they're going to be bringing in food and things like that, it always goes to a city. They're not going to be dropping parcels out in the wilderness for all those people that are hunkered out there, you know. And there's a black market that can take place in a city that can go underground. You can't go underground in the country. You can go underground in the city. And when all this stuff comes down, it's going to be just like World War II, just like World War I, just like any time the shit has hit the fan. There is an underground economy where food and medicines and things like that are traded below the radar of the powers that be. And there's a lot more places to hide and do business in the city than out in the country. So even though, you know, you think you're trapped here, but you're sort of, you know, you can lose yourself in the crowd. You know, you blend in, you don't stick out, you don't draw attention to yourself, and you make you know,
I think though that a lot of that will change with the drones and the technology. I mean, they want everybody microchipped. They want to be able to track anybody anywhere. So I think like right now you're totally right on that. Like really, if there's a third world war, if there's nukes that are flying in the air, well, there's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. If you're in cottage country or way out in you know farmland or in the wilderness, you're just going to die a bit slower, you know, maybe a little bit more agonizing and painful. Yeah. But if you're in the city, well, you'll probably die right away, you know, and at least you'll have possibly a good stock of beer on hand to get you through it.
You'll have a better chance of getting supplies in the city. And also, yeah, you know, it sounds like they've got it all wrapped up, and it really does. I mean, they control the media, they control the banks, the governments, the police forces. I mean, and now they got drones, and they got the computers and the surveillance and all that. It seems like we are in a hopeless position, a no-win situation. But one thing I've learned from history is that all these infallible plans fail.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it never works out for these super egomaniacs, right? I mean, all they do is create more chaos. They don't actually achieve their goals, right?
Yeah, I mean, so even though we can't see the cracks in the armor now, like just for example, the NSA, they're taking all that information, recording everybody's email, this, that, and the other. Can you imagine how many hundreds of thousands of years it would take to have teams of people go through all that information? I mean, they could never do it. I know they're storing it so that if you're on their shit list, they'll call it up and say...
No, they got those... Jeff and I discussed it. They got that CSEC building they built there, the billion-dollar building that they built in Ottawa, and they got 1,500 of the smartest Canadians building computer programs that are going to go through it. They don't have to go through it.
I agree.
They're not doing a damn thing. Yeah. Nobody's listening.
Well, we're in a transformation. I mean, many different things are occurring at once, so it's very, very, very hard for us to keep up. I mean, we people that grew up, say, in the 1900s, the early 1900s, you know, started off with horse-drawn carriages in the streets and stuff like that. Now, you know, by the end of the 20th century, sports cars and airplanes and everything else. But the transformation now is even way more accelerated because the power of computers, the power of surveillance, you know, they're coming up with so many different ways, and the real danger is that, look, Greg says, I mean, they're putting like the sick government that we have, putting over $1 billion into this, like the most expensive building in Canadian history or Canadian government history,
to spy on it.
To spy essentially, to like ostensibly, yeah, they're going to spy on other nations, right? But really, no, it's more to spy on the citizens of Canada.
Yeah, a couple of floors are for us. A couple of floors definitely are for Canadians.
Yeah, and they'll have programs that will be able to bring up any sort of information that they want on anybody. They'll just have to click on a mouse or a button or touch a screen, and they'll be able to get exactly what kind of information they want. An email that you sent 10, 15 years ago, they'll be able to get it. You know, like anything, they'll be able to find.
Okay, but how can any of this, like if you were a lawyer now, how could anything on a computer now actually hold up in court when they know you can backdoor into anybody's computer?
Well, you know, that's...
They could plant anything on mine, yours, or Jeff's computer right now, and we wouldn't have a fucking clue, and then they could kick down the door and say, hey, you got all this stuff on your computer.
Yeah,
you'd be like,
you could do that. I mean, it doesn't matter to... You know, look at what goes on there in the States, how many of those shootings take place, and then the cops plant dope on the people or plant the gun on them. I mean, it's an everyday occurrence. They can do that to you. I mean, what recourse do we have to law? Is it illegal and all that? Of course it is. So what are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. There's no recourse to law.
No,
Yeah,
they created. You see, this is the sick part. Instead of creating a world where we need to really coexist peacefully now or never, and instead of creating that world, they created a world of divide. They're such strange people that run the world. They are. They're fucked up. It's not normal.
They're scared, you know.
Well,
they're
scared.
they're
They can make such a cool planet. Everybody, this is the problem. And you know something? Most people are good people, and most people do their job, and most people put in their honest day's work, and they would go out and do whatever the job that is needed to be done, because that would make them feel good about their work and feel good about who they are, right? But they don't want that. They want you to feel terrible about your job and feel terrible about who you are. And they greed all the money. They're talking about trillions of dollars of banker bailouts now in the EU, like $2 trillion. What the fuck? We're going to give these guys more money, like $2 trillion. We're on the hook for that.
we give
Like,
them all the money. That's
regular people.
all the money ends up with them. I mean, most of the money ends up with them. That's how the system is working. And
Oh,
that's what's so
so they
scary
have all
about
the
it.
money, and then they break the system with the
But
money.
I mean, they're the whole system is structured. This is what's scary, of course, because we're talking about a very small percentage of people that have control over most of the planet, and they are the thing that is giving them so much more power is this technological, explosion. Because if they can somehow, corner the market or control certain technologies and use it to, watch everyone, it's going to be a lot easier for them to control people than it is right at the present day.
Yeah, watch this. Exactly.
Did you guys watch my video, Defense Against the Psychopath?
I saw it as very good. Very good video.
Well,
Defense against the psychopath. That sounds
Yeah,
awesome.
tell Greg about it.
well, it's based on chapter 1 of my book. I'm going to shamelessly plug my book. Is that
Go right
right?
ahead. Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
It's
Look
called
it up.
the Art of Urban Survival. And what I set out to do was write the ultimate survival guide for living in the city. That's why I'm talking about urban survival and doing courses on it. And what I broke it down to is that, we as human beings in the jungle that is the city, and, we can't flaunt Mother Nature. I mean, we think we can escape it and not have to obey its laws, but we do. And we are still in a jungle. It's just called an urban jungle now. And the 3 threats we have in an urban jungle are predators, and natural disasters. And because we live in a social environment, the 3rd threat is social disasters. So under predators, I did a lot of research and...
Did you include pop music?
No, it doesn't go into that. No, it's not really a conspiracy book. It's really a book on just how to,
that's
how to be
the
street
social
smart and figure things out so that you don't get screwed all the time,
I'm just teasing, dude.
Yeah. Well, don't get me started on pop music. I could do
Yeah,
2
that
hours.
would be a good chapter, though, in social disasters. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Miley. What can I
Yeah, I mean, Defense Against the Psychopath, that it's such an important piece of work that you did there, because it really is. I mean, like, we are really ruled by psychopaths. You know that. You've written books on it. It's this is the elite that I mean, it's the world is perfectly designed for them, right? It's the corporate sort of world that we have.
Well, actually, they designed the world. They're the ones that are responsible for all this craziness. And when, you can't imagine that, a rational human being with millions of dollars would steal the last breadcrumb from a starving child until you understand that that person's a psychopath. And that's exactly what they do. It's not because they need the money or they feel better the richer they are. Well, they do. It's not so much that they get more, it's the joy that they get when they see you suffer.
Yeah, gambling on whether you fucking eat or starve. They're
That's
fuckers.
what gives them a hard on.
Yeah,
When they see
yeah,
millions of people lined up at the food bank selling kidneys, putting their daughters into prostitution, which, occurs in like 80% of the countries in the world. That's what families have to do. The kids are sold off into prostitution. The father's a junkie, mother sells a kidney. That is what they enjoy. That gets them off. Boy, they love